But today we're looking at Williams Grove Prep. Okay, the wheel horse. Update on that yesterday. Well, it's Friday, Thursday, Wednesday. I got the wheel horse running, and it didn't take much. I was surprised. They had to blow out the fuel line, clear out the fuel line in the tank at the drain, the shutoff valve at the fuel tank, and it ended up running, and it ran pretty good on the old gas it had in it, which surprised me a ton. Issues it does have: it won't start on its own. The key works for triggering the coil or powering the coil, but it doesn't trigger the solenoid. The solenoid's bad. So I can jump the solenoid and it does start. So that'll be good enough for who it's for. And that's me this weekend. As long as it starts, I pulled the battery off the Cub, which is only like a 200 amp battery. So if it runs good and it fires up, we shouldn't have a problem. Vader, what are you getting into over there? As far as that goes, though, we're going to look at jacking the wheel horse up and pulling the wheels off, and this is where it all starts. This is where it goes. This is where it has been going. This is where it's been going downhill for me. We're going to use the impact gun, take the wheels off. That feeling in my hands and stuff has gone away. We'll see if that comes back. It's not going to stop me today, but anyway, we're going to jack the wheel horse up. We're going to pull the tires off, and we're going to swap them with what was on this walk behind, and we're going to have to get the sulky in here to pull the wheels off of that, and then we'll be good to go. We'll put the wheels on the wheel horse, and then just check some minor things on it, make sure it's good to go, nothing's going to leave us sit, check the belt, check some fluids, this and that, make sure it's good to go. And then we're going to end up giving it a bath and making it look as good as we can. The wheels are going to look bad. You'll see, I didn't paint them, they were painted poorly, and they're like off-white, like an almond color. But, again, good enough for who it's for. We just want tires that hold air. Then, like I said, we'll clean it up the best we can so it's as presentable as it can be for the show. Then, in the second part of this, we're going to look at prepping the truck. The truck itself is well, we'll just hold off on that. Alright, so this is how I left things last night. We pulled the wheels off the walk behind. It's right here. It's out of shot. But we're going to be lifting up the wheel horse, and I want to do the back first. I'm going to open up the door, jack the back up, and we're going to try to get that on stand so we can pull the wheels off the back of the wheel horse, put these tires on quick. That way we can sit the wheel horse down and swap the flat tires to the walk behind, just so it has something to roll on. Get the walk behind back out of here, out of the way. And then we'll bring the sulky in. Alright. I love my aluminum Harbor Freight jack. I think this thing came from Harbor Freight. This is like one of the only new tools I ever bought. It's strong enough to lift a car. 1.5 ton. But it's aluminum, it's lightweight, pumps fast. Alright, no crazy 4 jack stand lift for the wheel horse. We're just going to pull wheels off. Quickly. Get one of these bar tires here. These are filled with fluid. So they're not light. It's alright though. We could use the weight. I wonder how these would look tucked in. Might have to run a spacer to do that. I'll put them on normal offset. Oh, I'm a wheel horse fan already. I've never had my own wheel horse tractor. One thing I can see on the hub here is that the wheel is indexing on the hub. And that sounds silly, but typically these garden tractors, nothing holds the wheel on, and they don't have studs, they have bolts. So you have to, somehow hold the tire lined up with two hands and then use your other hand to put the bolt in. But this is slick. I'll show you what you mean. I'll show you what I mean when we do the walk behind. Because those are miserable. Nothing indexes those really, so they just, you gotta hold the tire and try to line it up, and that's a pain. But we got a good jump on this. It's what? 6:45. We're going to try to get this thing not washed, but good enough ready to go before the dew burns off the grass. These tires aren't actually bad. The wheels look like crap. The tires are alright. I'd like to dismount these and paint the wheels up and have them mounted again. Little impact gun here. I'll show you what I'm using here specifically. Is the Mac Tools impact gun. Mac is made by DeWalt. Now, they'll come out of the same manufacturing plant. So I have DeWalt batteries, 12-volt batteries. I got these batteries on eBay. They're kind of busted up now. I should get new ones. But new batteries for this older Mac Tools 3/8 drive impact gun. This thing is a lifesaver. I'm going to have to drag the air hose out and get the air compressor going for the impact gun. For lawn equipment and for tons of other things, this is so handy. I won't do wheels on a car with it, but I do just about anything else. It's fast. And it's kind of nice that it's not a 20-volt max, big, bulky thing. It's small, and it does a really good job. Alright, so we got that going good. Rear tires are done. I'm going to jack the front end up. I gotta think about this. I have so many jacks, so much space, and so many hands. We're going to put the wheels back on walk behind. And I can move this forward, get this all out of here, move this forward, bring the sulky in here and pull wheels off of that. That's what we're going to do. I need to see if this thing's going to run. And get you where I can see. Alright. Like I said, we can jump the solenoid, and it was firing. I want to go over the fuel lines. I have a feeling, because these Kohlers have a fuel pump on them, that I just cleaned the fuel lines off and put it back the way it was. I like to put real hose clamps on, not those little spring clamps. I'll show you that later. Make sure it's not sucking air. If it's sucking air, then it like drains the gas down out of the pump and then cranks a lot to get the gas to start pumping back up to the carburetor. So if I get that sealed up, I think it'll fire up real easy, because it doesn't fire up right away because it has to pump fuel. We'll see if it drained or if it's sucking air this morning. Put the key on for the coil to have power, and then I can just jump the solenoid with anything that's conducting. Pretty good. I thought I'd move the camera a little closer so you can see what I was talking about with the hub. Just how it is difficult, a little more difficult with this than the wheel horse. Come on, Vader. Oh, Vader. Oh, Vader. Alright. You gotta put the wheel. Go get your frisbee. Go get your frisbee. Alright. And you wonder why I'm putting flat tires on here, because these will hold air for a little bit. I'll pump these up and wheel this thing out to where I need to, and then I don't care if they go flat after I park it. These are just held on with 3 bolts. I have it set up right now in the jack stand. It's in the way. I'm going to switch it over to the floor jack. Alright, baby, let's get the floor jack. I can get this under the case, which I think on this one is like a chain case. I don't know for sure. I think this is an old Montgomery Ward bolt behind. You can tell me if you know different. I don't know much about this. I've had an engine on this and had it running and everything, and I actually took it to the show and pulled myself around on a sulky, but I don't know anything about it really. This is a project for another day. Trying to get one of them up at 12 o'clock so it's a little easier. And then, if you can see that, none of those holes line up. So you can't, that's where you want it to be. But if you let go of it, it falls down. Now I gotta put a bolt in there, right here. So I end up having to use my leg to hold the wheel up and use my other hand. I can get it started, but it's only because I've done it a few times. I remember the first couple times I took wheels on and off of these things, and they're a pain, especially if they're heavy. These aren't heavy, these are just regular wheels and tires. Those little ones on the wheel horse now are actually heavier than these because they are fluid filled. These only are held on with 3 bolts. Alright, I'll buzz these on with the impact gun. Already. We got a new neighbor living in a tree. And this is a big reason why I became a morning person. Look at that guy. Girl, I don't know. Oh, there we go. Well, that was a good shot. There's a pair of them that live around here, and it's pretty cool. I see them flying around out here sometimes in the evening. But you got the wheel horse idling right now. That's not going to hurt it. I have to adjust the clutch a little bit. You can hear it rubbing. But we're going to pump these tires up and then bring the sulky in to try to get the tires off of that then too. There we go. Vader. Stick around here. And these tires will look great for about 5 minutes. Also, I don't want this line to be a boat anchor. I want to be able to move it. And also, then I don't know what to do with the tires. At least this keeps things together. Now we'll switch front tires. This one holds air, but it doesn't matter. They don't match. So they're both silver wheels. I don't want to have a silver and a white. So I think this will go along as a spare, but we're going to put 2 that are at least the same color as the back wheels. And they both hold air, both tires match, but they look bad. You'll see. This is a cobbled together. Oh, you're looking at the sky. This is a cobbled together sulky here. It's an old Gravely sulky, but I had put this This is a cultivator to an old breedy walk behind I have, and I wanted to just adapt because it was already kind of hacked off the end. I just wanted to adapt it so I could bolt the cultivator to the sulky. That way the cultivator fit the walk behind tractor. And that did the job for what it was. That cultivator is adjustable, and at the moment it solves the problem of I can hook that cultivator to any walk behind I have with a hitch pin and use the sulky. That's not a permanent setup though. Alright, this will be easy. I like using these little jack stands, little 3-ton jack stands. Another, used marketplace tool. They're small. Again, I use them for a car, but they're small and they're really nice for equipment like this. See, it's not that this is heavy, it's just, convenient to get it off the ground. And now, I don't know if I have wrenches big enough for that back here right now. No. Not even close. So, I guess if you're familiar with Gravely's, you might have seen this before. But this is kind of odd to have a nut on the end of the axle like that. It's not unheard of, but it's not common. But I'll get a wrench for that. We'll pull these off. I think all I need is a flat head for the other one, but we'll check that out. Alright, we'll pull this cap off, and well, it's all nice and greasy. That just looks like a cotter pin. Alright, I'll get you in here closer. What we're looking at is, this one has a nut on the end, which I need to go get a wrench for. But then this one is just a cotter pin. Alright, and these vary. Sometimes it is a nut, like the other one here. Sometimes it is a nut, sometimes it's a cotter pin, sometimes it's like a collar with a set screw. They vary, but oddly enough, the wheels are the same. A lot of the inside diameter, the bearings and everything are the same, so a lot of these are interchangeable. These wheels are pretty much identical. They're flipped on the sulky from how they are on here. You'll see when they're swapped, they're really the same thing. Alright, I'll show you this one first. This is the wheel horse, and this is the cotter pin, which you'll see it's all covered in grease. Should only need a screwdriver, maybe a pair of pliers for this. Oh, this looks like maybe a different type of pin. There we go. It doesn't want to give up and come out. It will. I just need to hit it with something. That was a short cotter pin. Pretty short and stocky. It was only bent a little bit at the end. Straighten it out. You can see that. And then pulled it through the hole. It just needed help with the hammer a little bit. Well, put that in the little cup. There's the bearing, separate from the wheel there. Alright, so now, the other way, we'll get the other one over here, and it's the same thing, just in reverse. This one is a a nut instead, like I said before. We'll see if we can get that off. That much trouble. Here we go. 15/16. I'm using the breaker bar because well, the rest of this shouldn't move. As far as having used the impact gun or anything. It's just some kind of lock nut. It resists the whole time you're turning it. Go. Now I should be able to put the old wheel horse wheel on here. In theory, the offset could be different. Uh-oh. The offset is different. So let's take a closer look at these. Let's see what we can do. So this has a different back spacing. You can see this piece here. It sticks out further than this one. Just in general, the back spacing is a little different on this one. I think we're going to be okay as far as the tractor goes. We just have some space to take up. So this gets me on to plan B and C. Right. Plan B, put the matching sulky tires on the wheel horse. I'm going to have to space them. Right, look in here, there's extra gap here, maybe an inch or so. So we can either space them, the color of these wheels match, or we can try the trailer wheel. I think we should go check on hardware, as I'd like to run these. And we'll just try to space that out a little more. I don't really care about the sulky. I have other tires we can try to see if we'll fit on there as a roller, so that thing can move around. But like I said before, I'd like to try to get, I'll show you, the matching wheels, at least the off-white with the off-white, so it doesn't look so bad. The other ones are red, or yellow, so I don't want a McDonald's themed tractor. Alright, Vader. Alright, we'll see if we have hardware. After looking at this for a minute, I am going to go with that spacer. So we're going to take this. Yeah, Vader, you're in the shot. Oh, Vader break times. It's all right. Good boy. Where's your frisbee at? Go get your frisbee. I'm going to take this spacer, right? It fits over the axle. I'm just going to cut it shy of the hole for the... Get back. Go on, get back. Get back, Vader. Go get your frisbee. I'm going to cut this so it lines up with that cotter pin hole, right? You can still see that right there. Right, the cotter pin hole. So, stay here, Vader. We'll cut this to length, and then we'll be able to use a piece for each side. Alright, I am gonna get a measurement here just with a combination square, nothing fancy. And this is with the washers that came with the wheel horse. 3/4 of an inch. Pretty much spot on 3/4 of an inch. We'll easily be able to get 2 of them out of this. We'll be able to get 3 of them out of this actually. But we only need 2. We're going to go up to the house and cut it down. But I'll take you with me. You'll get to see what I was talking about earlier with the other tire options and then the yellow tire option. So the good tire over here, right there. That's plan C. I don't want to use the yellow wheel just because it's a yellow wheel. But then for the sulky, we have these. And I got more. Just junkers that would be good for something. Alright, so what we're going to do is just mark this and cut it off with the hacksaw. I don't want to pinch it too tight and distort the shape. Just want to get a good mark on 3/4. The nice thing with the combination square is you can set it, and this isn't exactly a set of calipers, but this measurement doesn't have to be that precise anyway. 3/4 of an inch. I can set this and then tighten it. And then another thing in the combination square, they usually have a little scribe in them. I don't usually use them, so they're stuck. I gotta pull it out with a pair of pliers. But that's a scribe, and you can use it on wood or metal, but you can scratch your mark in with that. I'll try to pull that out to show to you, but I usually just use a regular scriber. This out. And there's the scribe. And it's just pressed in. There's a taper on here. I probably won't focus in on that. A taper on here and a taper in here, and it's just friction holds in. Sometimes they're threaded. I like the ones that are threaded more because this can get bumped down. But anyway, 3/4, and I'm going to use the Sharpie again. If you don't have any money or that nice of a workshop with all the fancy tools, a Sharpie, this is super wide. I don't want to use this to mark my line. But what I can do is use the Sharpie like die. So if I'm trying to draw a line, I can draw it over the Sharpie and it'll scratch, and you'll have this crisp silver line. I'll try to zoom in on that. Instead of a fat Sharpie line or the scribe line that blends in with everything else because everything's silver. So you can see the scribe line through the black Sharpie. So, get you back over here. Don't mind all the other projects in the background. Every time I use one of these blades, I swear I knock the teeth off of them every single time. But this one's in good shape, and I got a ton of them. That's probably why they weren't the best quality, so they were cheap. Alright, I know my battery died. I don't know when it died. But I'm gonna file these. I cut one from each end, so I'd have a given edge, whatever the machine edge was, so I knew that end would be good. But I'll file these so they are a little bit better on the edge that I cut. One is definitely a lot better than the other one. But again, in the theme of tools, this workbench was free, and the vise was bolted to the workbench. Keep your eyes open for stuff like that. And something's better than nothing. There's a lot of things I'd like to have, but there's a lot of things I may do with for not having the money for the nicer option. And it's amazing how long you can make do with things that aren't ideal. Alright, so I got them in there good enough. I'm going to hit them with the file. Alright, I got one of the biggest files I have just to keep it flat best I can. Now the file is only going to cut, so to speak, in the angle of the teeth, I guess you could call them. So you want to hold the file in the angle of the lines that you see on the file here. These are the little cutting edges. You want to hold it at that angle and just push forward. They don't work pulling backwards. So you can drag back, but nothing's going to happen. You want to push. That's the cutting motion. And try to use the whole file. Alright, let's see if that was worth our time. Well, looks like it. If we can get the cotter pin in, then that is gold. And I don't like just having the cotter pin on this diameter because it's so small. And the force of the wheel trying to come off is going against this cotter pin, like it distributed over the entire cotter pin. I don't know if it makes a difference or not. This is a pretty beefy cotter pin. It's just, well, you'll see. It's all greasy. All right. And I don't always fold the other one back, but I'm going to, because I want to put this cap back on, little grease cap. If I can stay on there. All it does is kind of hook onto the washer. There we go. Alright, again, good enough for who it's for. One down, we'll do the other one. The other one holds there, but again, in the theme of matching. Put that down and jack the other side up. Right, same thing, that's fine. We got fires in the screwdriver, hammer, you got it in. Suppose you'll be, grease test on, whatever. I'll find the end of the button. It is, it's being button. It is dirty line. It's not. It's first thing is everyone, let's do this, drag it back. Operational. Alright. Alright. Pull that one, step forward. And we have here, 30 back sockets and grab some board. And then the sockets. That's our fixture. Of course, I'll use this word stuff. Use it, break it. Get it back. That was the little there you go. See that other wheel here. There we go. And we'll do a washer before and after that. Oh, you want this thing to do spacer. Okay. There we go. And this is what I have at the beginning of. It's not real. What? If you're interested in the larger, don't be moving property. And you that's all. I always know the way to do things. The best way to do things. But you always have to find it. You always have tools, materials available. They can do it as what most of the time do. So we're going to explore this. We're going to use fast one, now one. And turns up, and I just never see this on my now. 1 box. Ready to go. Second one. Finish off this. Alright, these came off the old little board. Right diameter and the right offset. I don't know if offset's the right term. I should just say the depth. Alright, these are perfect. I'll try to zoom in on that. The other ones we looked at where we couldn't swap is because the threaded portion right there, that matches up perfectly. The other ones matched up on a wheel horse, but then the ones off the wheel horse don't match up to the sulky. So the wheel horse Yeah, that's what these. That's now. Yeah, that's what I do. Alright. That's what like. It will go over here. The box, the deal is, my board house is back here. That's just what it is. Go. Let's see, there we go. And that's what the. That's what I want. That's the only thing I'm going to try. They're fine, you're fine, Alright, I'm going to go there. I'm going to go for that. Oh, sorry. Down there, release, right here. This is one seat. It's only one shot back here. Alright, that's it. That's it. This is good. Oh, okay. Ooh, that's empty. I'll see. Ooh, out of there. Now we try that. Some of this. That's fine down here. See something. I promise. Alright, let's go. 2 pass. Ooh, one there. Wait, there's another pass. One there. Alright. That was good. I see now. Wait, there's another there, so. One more there. That's good enough. I'll get experience here with the having to make spacers, right? Didn't expect to have to do that, but wasn't a big deal. Had the stuff to be able to do that. All right, now we want to look at just looking at the vitals. I'm going to double check the battery. I want to confirm what the battery is now and what it is when it's charging to see if it's charging. Expecting, you know, on a good day, it's what, 12.6, 2.1 volts per cell, 6 cells per, you know, the battery, 12-volt battery. So 12.6 ought to be what that is right now. Started it up, let it idle, pulled it back in here. It should be charged up. And it should be working. The lights only work when it's running. So when the engine's spinning, the lights run. So there is charging coming from that engine. So to see if that's working. Checked it the other day and it was working. We want to confirm that. We'll put the air cleaner back on. Check the oil in the engine and the gearbox. Make sure it has enough in it. And that's about it. I'm going to give it a bath and clean it up. Try to make it look as good as we can. We'll get it outside to do that, but I'm going to take a break and I'll be back at this a little bit later. We are at 8:29. There it is again. Pretty cool. Pretty cool to have a new neighbor. It lives over here somewhere in these trees. Alright, Vader, it's going here. Alright, so where we left off, we took a little break. Hey, you stay here. These tires seem to be holding air. Alright, so we're going to clean up and then we're going to just take a look at some of the vitals and make sure things have oil, engine oil, grease, gear oil in the rear end, just so it doesn't give up this weekend. Remember, just needs something metal to jump the solenoid. it should fire up. Last time we choked it, had it on idle. This tire's low. Let's check on that. But let's check some things out. And let me see if I can get this up here. I don't know if it comes across on camera or not, but I feel significantly different than I did earlier. We took our little roadkill garage break, cup of coffee, came back out, and something in my hands, my wrists and hands and everything, all my joints, I think I feel stiff. I feel like an old man. I'm not an old man. I should feel better than I do. We'll start with engine oil. That's the easy one. Try to tighten up one of these headlights. It's loose. I don't know what I'm going to do about that just yet. But we'll check the oil. What we got here. Looks pretty good. That doesn't look bad or feel bad. Sometimes it can feel like sticky, like it's black paint. Can't see me anymore. Sometimes it can feel like sticky, like black paint. And other times it loses all of its viscosity and it feels like it's black, but it's brake fluid, you know, it's real thin. So this seems good, real good. And it's right at the fill line. I mean, that's good. And again, good enough for who it's for, good enough for what we're doing. It doesn't look like black paint. It's not sticky like black paint. It has viscosity. It feels like an oil change. It's not even really that dark. I mean, it's dirty. It's not new oil. I'm not trying to pass it off as good oil, but it's not bad. So we'll leave it at that. And we're just going to check on gear oil. Just to make sure it has enough so you don't, burn out the gearbox driving it around. So we'll be driving around for hours and hours this coming week. Alright, so right now we see 0 on the meter, 0 volts. The battery, now this just started up and ran. It doesn't matter if I reverse the polarity on the meter, it'll just say negative. Right? 12.6667. Perfect. Right? Perfect. That's exactly what it's supposed to be if it's a good battery. Now, the issue is, this is a 200 cranking amp battery. This should be like a 350, given this is only a 200, this thing has to fire up. If it cranks too long, it'll kill the battery. But I'm going to start it and then confirm that it is higher than 12.6 while it's running. Give me some indication that it's charging. Well, it did go up. That wasn't exactly, 13 or 14 volts like a car alternator, but it went from 12.66 to up to over 12.9. So, I mean, that's coming from somewhere. So, I think we have a little bit of a charging system here. I don't think it's particularly that strong, but it does work. So that is good. It means when we're driving it around, I'm not going to be killing the battery, slowly draining the coil. Or draining it with the coil. Right, but now we'll put the air cleaner on. And we got oil, charging system, air filter. This is the one it had on it. I know it's not, It's just a regular, dirty air filter. Nothing too crazy. It's good enough. Again, it's good enough for what it is. And what I mean by that is it's good enough for me and what I'm going to do with it. Obviously, I'd put a new one on if I was going to sell this or if I was fixing it up for someone to use and rely on at home. I mean, yeah, I'd change the oil and everything. But for me right now, we just want to get it running reliably. All right. Vader's always hanging out. Aren't you, Vader? He didn't help me very much, though. Alright, now technically that was part 3, washing. Before we do that, I'm going to go just lay out the tools that were used to get this to this point. Not that we did anything profound today, but it just, again, the point of the channel, I'm not the know-all of any of this stuff. If I can do this, you can do this. Hopefully you're seeing that it's easy. If this guy can do it, I can do it. That should be your thought. If that's your thought, then this is going well. So we'll lay that out, and then we're going to switch gears and end up out in the yard, so we're going to go wash it off. Got this thing running by cutting the ends off of the fuel line, unclogged the fuel line, which is the only thing missing. Air gun to blow the fuel line out and blow the tank out and get the fuel flowing again. So we used that. Then we tested the battery, had the battery on a charger, found out the battery was bad, swapped batteries with the Cub, tested 12 volts at the coil, tested 12 volts at the solenoid, found out the solenoid's bad, that we can jump that, and confirm the charging system, right? The voltmeter. Try to air up the tires, right, with the air gauge. Swap tires using the impact gun with the deep socket, 5/8. Then use the breaker bar. This had the impact socket on it. Take the sulky wheels off. Then we did need a hammer. Didn't really need the hammer, but that helped to persuade the cotter pins to come out, along with the screwdriver and a pair of pliers. A pair of needle nose would have gone a long way, but again, this worked fine. Cutting the fuel line off, ended up using the pocket knife for that. Originally, to get this running, now we haven't needed it since, but we did use starting fluid earlier on and tested spark. So that was confirmed earlier on, but that was not today. Then the adjustable, that moved those little hose barbs around. You know, they have a square head on them. It's a 90 degrees, so you can turn them a little bit. Also pulled the drain plug off for the gear oil, for the gearbox with this. Hacksaw with just like bushing stock or spacer stock. Ended up cutting that down for the wheels, front wheels. Round file, deburred it. Flat file, kind of trued up the ends. We used the Sharpie as die with the combination squares, so we could scribe with store-bought or one I made, scriber. And then ended up using just that pair of pliers to pull this out to show you earlier. And then had extra stock of used valve stem caps, extra stock of used hose clamps, and extra stock of washers and spacers, large, medium, and small. Used hardware goes a long way with working on stuff like this. But I'm going to clean all this up, get it put away, and then I'm going to use this table here. I'll show you the things that I'm going to use to clean the tractor. We'll bring the tractor out here. I already have the hose out, and we'll get it situated for a bath.